Yes, Larry, how are you today?
Doing a little bit better, but tough last couple days, no question about that.
Yeah, I know you guys were close, and when something like this happens, you go, that's too young for a guy like Ryne Sandberg to pass, and we all feel it. But if you can put in perspective, expand upon your relationship with him for me.
No, well, we started out, when he first got called up to the big leagues, I think it was 81. I'm taking ground balls, and I remember him standing behind me. You feel somebody behind you, and he didn't say anything, and I just turned around and said, "Hey, you want to take some with me?" And he goes, "Yeah." And it seemed like from that day on, we sort of like connected. He was a shy guy when he first came up, had tremendous amount of tools. Even when he wasn't hitting home runs in the Phillies minor league system, you could see he had tremendous potential as a fielder, a good runner, could steal bases. Then eventually, when he went over to Chicago, he learned how to pull the ball and had as we all know, a Hall of Fame career. But might have been one of the most guys that I've met a lot of Hall of Famers. He was so humble. He could care less about stats. This guy, all he wanted to do was win. He was always prepared to play baseball. We had a saying once, and when we both got traded, he called me and said, "When are you going to spring training?" And I said, "Well, when are you going?" And he said, "Well, my date says February 15th. I went, No. We're going February 1st. And he says, "Why are we going so early?" And I said, "Well, we got to do things together. Double play combination, talk, get to know each other a little bit better." And from that day on, this guy, his work ethic was off the chart. Always prepared. And the saying we had was 9 innings, 27 outs, no matter what the score is, no matter what you're doing at the plate, what I'm doing at the plate. Play the game the right way, and that's how he played. He played the game the right way. You never saw him bat play. And I know, Mike, that some of the things that go on now never even thought about happening when we played, but he just respected who he played. He respected everybody around him. He was a Hall of Fame player, but he was a Hall of Fame person more than anything.
Yeah, his demeanor really stood out as, just unfazed by anything and playing the game the right way. Where do you think he got that? You were a little more volatile, obviously. I don't remember him ever being volatile. Did you guys ever talk about that, where he got that kind of level-headedness?
No, well, he was a big-time athlete. I mean, he got all kinds of scholarships in football. He was a quarterback. He played basketball. He was real good at it, and eventually he turned to baseball. I just think inside, he reminded me, demeanor-wise, he reminded me a little bit of Mike Schmidt. So much natural ability. They made things look so easy, and their work ethic was off the chart. But I think inside he burned a little bit. I think he started the season, he was either 0 for 25 or 0 for 28, and he's hitting balls hard. And I remember him coming back to the bench after another line drive at somebody, and somebody said, "Hang in there." He says, "You hang in there." And I'm saying to myself, if this kid is a rookie, can have that demeanor going through this to start a season off, I said, he's going to be something special. And it turned out he was something special. The other thing that stands out in my mind, that very first year in Chicago, they had him playing center field, second base, and third base, and he was above average on every single one of those positions. You could probably put him anywhere on the baseball field, and he would have excelled. But I just think the thing that stands out in my mind, that he had the same routine day in and day out. And we talked about routines all the time. In fact, he really felt unprepared. If the tarps were on and we were on a road trip and we couldn't get on the field, we had to find somewhere to play pepper and to loosen up and do things like that, because he said, I got to be prepared to go out there. And that sort of permeated through the whole clubhouse. And I think the Cubs' personality right now is that is Ryne Sandberg. Play the game hard, respect your opponent, never give up, and that's exactly what he did.
We're talking to Larry Bowa. Now, Larry, you guys had a couple of really good years together and got really close, and you have to have that simpatico when you're shortstop and second baseman. You guys definitely had that. And then when things were over for him, he goes down and he manages in their AAA team, and he got passed over. I know he had to be hurt by that. Did you chat with him about that?
Yeah, he was hurt by that. There's no question. And I think one of the reasons they gave Rhino that that they passed him over was there would be too much pressure on him to win because he was an icon in Chicago, and they didn't want to have to eventually let him go. And obviously, he didn't buy that. I mean, I'm sure there might have been truth to that. There's no question about that. I mean, this guy built a reputation up in Chicago to be one of the best to ever put on a uniform there. And then he went and managed our team in AAA, and he managed a big league team. And it wasn't a real good team that he took at the Philly when he took over the Phillies team. And he suggested that he wanted to make some changes during a certain period of time. And he wanted to bring in a lot of the young guys because we weren't going anywhere. And I think with him talking with the front office talking to him, I don't think they were ready to make that move at that time. And he just felt his hands were tied, and he says, you know what, I can't continue to do this. I want to try to do this my way, and it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, Larry was tough, obviously, taking over for Charlie Manuel and kind of having that passing of the baton. But I remember he had a lot of respect, and he managed Roy Halladay in Halladay's last year here, and that was a player that I think he probably recognized his similar work ethic. And I imagine a guy, when you're like Ryne Sandberg and what you're talking about, how he was as a player, you don't always see that in other players out there. But when you were coaching with him with the Phillies here, what was he like as a manager? You saw him in both of those instances.
He was a good manager, I thought. Again, he had no talent here. This team was dead in the water. What's ironic about that is that we bussed to New York. We were playing the Yankees, and we won 2 out of 3 in New York, which at that time, the Yankees were a pretty good team, and we weren't that good. And we were riding on the bus, and we were talking, and I said, you got to feel good about that series. He goes, yeah. He says, but I'd like to do a couple things here. And I said, well, just present it and see what they do, what they say. And, it never came to fruition. So, but the parallels between Doc and Rhino are really similar. I mean, they work their tails off. Mm-hmm. There are no egos at all. They just went out, played. They were great teammates. They helped individuals when guys weren't going good. They always had positive approach. If a guy's 0 for 15, I know Rhino would go up and say, hey, let's go, we're good. And I know that Doc Holliday did the same thing. Mm-hmm. So those parallels are the same. And, of course, both of them are in the Hall of Fame as we speak. But I really believe, this is just my opinion, that Ryne Sandberg was such a humble human being that he was in hospice for the last, I want to say, 4 or 5 days. And the Hall of Fame ceremonies were going on Sunday. I really believe Rhino hung on as long as he could, not to take away the attention of the Hall of Famers. I really, really believe that. That's what kind of human being he was.
Yeah, on that note, I asked you, it's a very emotional question, but when it got to a point where there wasn't much hope for him, how did he approach his fate, and what were your last conversations with him like?
We kept in touch a lot on the phone or text until just recently. In fact, I saw him in spring training. He looked unbelievable. And I said, man, you're doing good. And he says, I feel great. And he came back with a vengeance. And the last time I talked to him, I texted him and told him I loved him. And he said the exact words were, we've been through a lot together, and I appreciate everything you've done. But the biggest thing was that he knew what was happening. I mean, he was well aware. He has a great family. Margaret, his wife, he's got grandchildren, he's got children. He was a tremendous family guy. And it was just sad to see it come on so quick. I thought for sure we had more time, and I'm sure he did too. But as we all know, this is a terrible disease, and we got to find something to take care of it.
Yes,
no question about it. Larry, let me just shift the conversation. Since I have you here, I'd be remiss to not talk about this trade deadline that's coming up. And, the schools of thought, they could use 2 positions, one a high-end reliever, another a right-handed bat maybe. What's your feel as we come down the home stretch of this?
Well, I'm sure all these teams that are sellers now are going to try to squeeze every ounce what they can out of whatever organization they make deals with. Personally, we have 4 or 5 kids down there that I really like a lot. And this is just my opinion. I'm not trading any of those high-end prospects for a rental. I think we're in a position now where we finally got some young kids coming through the system, and our big league team is getting a little bit older. Now, if you get somebody that's got 2 years under control or even a year under control, I could understand that. But to give away somebody for a 2-month rental, that's just me. That's not Dave.
Larry, always a pleasure. We really
Thanks,
appreciate
Larry.
it. I know you have a heavy
sorry about
heart
Ryan.
about this, and so thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
All right, you guys take care.
All right, that's
Bye-bye.
Larry Bowa checking in, and you can tell he's affected.
I mean,
He's hurt.
of course,
by
they
it.
played together. They
Yeah.
were.
Good buzz.
He was just chatting with him recently.
Yeah.
so.
610-632-0975 is how you climb into the show. We get back to our text board, our phone calls. It's General Knowledge Wednesday. Phillies tickets, Phillies versus Detroit Tigers is the prize today. Mike Missanelli Show continues.
Thanks for watching. I love these outro videos because I can actually talk with my hands and it looks normal here. So subscribe right here and watch some more videos for us. How about it?